Okay, I'm going to do a recording today about, um, it's going to be an educational video that'll apply to Bitcoin, Ethereum, any Dash, any investor in any currency. It's going to, it's a big part of the Ethereum um, things that affect the Ethereum price, and it also affects the other economic systems in terms of what the different coins offer, what different systems offer. And it's going to explain a lot about how mining rewards are distributed throughout the system and inflationary or deflationary levels. So first I'm going to talk about uh, two different types of mining rewards. People often refer to it as mining rewards, but it's good to think about it in terms of the transaction fee rewards, which these all you're paying for are people to be available on an internet network so that transactions can go back and forth in a timely fashion. This does not require a significant amount of computing power. It does require a kind of stable uptime, but the computing power is relatively insignificant for receiving and sending transactions. Now, there's another type of computing power, which is a hash power, which we'll discuss what that's used for later. But hash power is what people normally think of when they think of mining, because they think of Bitcoin mining. And hash power is what requires a lot of graphic units for Ethereum, or ASICs for Bitcoin. Um, and it kind of has its own specialty ecosystem, and it burns a lot of electricity to hash mining. So, in terms of the mining rewards, there's the mining reward that is effectively based on hash, which you could call the empty block space rewards. So, these rewards are not for sending and receiving transactions. They have nothing to do with um, really securing the blockchain in that system. All they do is extend the blockchain. So, these are your hash rewards. And this is, you can think of these as the empty block space rewards. And then there's the transactional fee rewards, which are what people pay in Ethereum. They might pay a quarter to send transactions back and forth. In Bitcoin, it might be 50 cents. And different systems have their own little rewards. So these also are part of mining rewards. So there's two mining rewards that occur. And then there is, in terms of miners, which commonly people only refer to, think of hash miners, but there's really two types of miners: a staked miner and a hash miner. So these are both referred to as miners, but they're two very different type of miners. One is centered around acquiring all the graphics cards and ASICs and mining in that system in order to crack the code, whereas the staked miner is centered around having a stable internet connection, and that's essentially all that's required to be a staked miner, is to desire to send transactions at a fairly quick rate. So stable internet connection is your primary objective as a staked miner. So then, in terms of security of the blockchain, there's proof of work and proof of stake type security. So proof of work security is really hash security. You can think about it that way. However, the more nodes there are, the more people that are stake mining, they're naturally contributing hash power as well. But the length of the chain, which a lot of people associate in terms of the optimal length to deter organized 51% attacks, is maybe 10,000 computers, whereas a lot of people speculate that with 500 to 2,000 you present quite a lot of security, especially as most of your Bitcoin systems are not able to attack competing chains, since Bitcoins are on ASICs. They can attack Litecoin, but they can't attack Ethereum because they're on different systems. So this is one reason that different mining systems use different types of mining hardware, is to deter 51% attacks from competing chains. So Ethereum is the longest non-Bitcoin chain, a non-ASIC based chain at this point in time that I'm aware of. I'm very confident of that. So how much does it cost to have 10,000 computers? Well, people speculate that it might be roughly $2,000 to purchase a computer, another $6,000 for the electrical cost over the year, and then you might allocate $2,000 for general overhead space per computer. So $10,000, including the assuming that you're buying a new computer every single year, $10,000 might be the estimated cost of supporting a computer on the chain. Or for 10,000 computers, that would come out to $100 million. So currently, Ethereum is paying roughly $3 billion at 4.75% market cap to support their chain versus the 100 million. And Bitcoin is paying 1.5% of their $1.5 billion or 4% of their market cap to support their chain, which automatically gets reduced in 2020 roughly to 2%. So I want to talk a little bit about block times and hash power and how blocks are made. So this will be brief, but I just want to help people understand the difference between what a hash miner contributes to the blockchain and what a staked miner contributes to the blockchain, and the difference between what is required in order to send and receive transactions versus what is required to receive empty block space reward, or what most people refer to as rewards, mining rewards. So in order to stabilize the block times, Bitcoin it's 10 minutes, Ethereum 15 seconds, effectively what they do, I kind of jumped into this backwards, effectively what they do is take the total hash power divided by 4 minutes or 15 seconds, and then this equals a number of zeros. And the more, and let's just say it's 2 zeros, 4 zeros, 6 zeros, 8 zeros, the more hash power, the more zeros that are created. And the more zeros there are, effectively the longer it takes to mine or complete or solve the puzzle of the block. So how do you solve the puzzle of the block? There's a random, the block is going to be 200 and, to solve the puzzle is a 256 0 and 1 code, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. And the more zeros you have at the start of the block, the longer or more hash power that is required to solve the block. So if there's only one computer on the chain, then there's very little hash power, so the number of zeros at the start might be 2. And if there's a million computers or whatever on the blockchain, then the number of the zeros at the start might be incredibly long. It might be a page long. It's never that long, but all the same, it might be very long in order to fix the time at either 15 seconds for Ethereum or 10 minutes to Bitcoin. So no matter how many computers you have, it just changes the number of zeros. It does, frankly, nothing to advance this sending and receiving of transactions. So that's what I want to communicate there. It does a little bit, but it's very little in regard to the sending and receiving of transactions. So how do you arrive at this 010001 combination code? Well, you enter the transactions that you receive into something called SHA-256. This creates the 256.01 sequence. And so you take a little bit of the block before you, so this creates the blockchain. So you take a little bit of the block before you, add all the transactions that you received over time, and then in between transactions, you get to put in random numbers. So you try a big variety of random numbers until you get all those zeros at the start of the code that was generated by SHA-256. And as soon as you get all those zeros, then you're given the empty block space reward as well as the transactional fee reward. But the transactional fee reward is just a result of solving the hash algorithm, which is always going to be set to 15 seconds or 10 minutes or whatever the case may be, and the zeros grow based on the number of computers on the chain, so that the time intervals are consistent, and this is a very successful thing that Bitcoin invented. Anyways, so that's what you want to think of in terms of the different ways nodes or mines of chains operate within the systems. So the way that, so in terms of economics, to talk about that bit now, Ethereum is currently paying 4.75% of their market cap toward their empty block space rewards, and Bitcoin is paying 4%. So Ethereum is paying about 3.5 times more Bitcoin for their empty block space rewards. And in terms of dollar values, that's 3 billion or 1.5 billion for Bitcoin, but 3 billion for about 3 billion for Ethereum, because the market cap is smaller than Bitcoin, blah blah blah. So in terms of block fullness, Bitcoin is about 75% full and Ethereum is about 50% full. So in terms of like transactions fees, you do want some empty block space reward for having empty blocks on the chain. So why Bitcoin was new, it might have been 25% of the Bitcoin was paid out or something, 20%, I don't know, to the empty block space reward. And I think Ethereum has been at 14.75 for quite a while. So another type of system, which I'll just talk about the way that Dash does it, because they're the main, they are one of the known competitors or known alternatives at the marketplace. They do primarily a staked system, and they say that if you're a, so the way that you do staked systems, considering the main importance in a to secure the blockchain, the number one thing for processing transactions is to have stable internet. So all the miners with an internet connection, they are all given equal chance of winning 50% of the reward. It's actually 45, but 50% of the reward, and then the one who actually solves the puzzle, which is determined by hash power and completes the block, this person gets another 50% of the reward. It's actually 45, and Dash takes 10% to market and develop the blockchain or whatever the case. However, the main aspect is you have one reward that is randomly assigned to staked IP addresses, and another reward that is given only to the person who solves the puzzle, or the hash reward. So this is how Dash does it in a 50-50 kind of system, and I think they're one of the first major players to do this. A lot of people had done this, I think, before them, but they're one of the first people who had major investors in a system like this. Now, in my opinion, I like it better. Not in terms of decentralized, centralized system, but in terms of security overall for the system, both economically and the speed at which transactions are processed. In a lot of ways, these staked type of systems can handle a lot of transactions, and likewise, they face a lot less what you might refer to as terroristic behavior that the mining community has done in Bitcoin, and sort of did with Ethereum as well. For example, there was a mining community in Ethereum that had their gas limitations set too low, and this created massive congestion on the Ethereum network, created a 20% price drop in the price of Ethereum, and then upset the people who were processing transactions, who paid a lot more for the transactions, and the people who benefited were the people who caused the problems, in this case the miners. So had these miners been staked miners, or had there been a series of staked miners or an option of staked miners who, let's just say, competitors to the hash miners, then perhaps they would have, the hash miners who created the problem, they wouldn't have gotten 100% of the reward that the problem created. They would have got less of the reward. And then another thing that you can do, or another thing that has occurred in Bitcoin, is that some of the miners have spent hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin. This occurred around April 2017. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars to send a penny back and forth, paying 50 cents each time to send a penny back and forth, which congested the network. It made blocks go from 50 to 90% full, and then the miners got 100% of that return. So they increased the fees paid on the Bitcoin network. They upset the customers by extending the the length of time that it would take for a confirmed Bitcoin transaction, and at the end of it, they also got it cost them very little because they got 100% of that reward on the other side of it because of their ASIC hash power advantage. Now it hurt the Bitcoin price, but this had absolutely no negative effect for them at all, because they liquidate their Bitcoins daily, so they have no long-term, no miner has any long-term commitment to a particular coin, because the rate at which miners are paid varies all the time, and you just adjust your hash to the coin that pays the most. There's really no reason to think otherwise if you're a miner. If you're a hash miner, there's no reason to devote your hashing power to Ethereum if SIA or something else pays better, because hashing power does nothing to support the blockchain, so long as there are nodes, and other hash. It does a little bit for the 51% attack concerns. So for small chains, for like ANS, which is also a proof of stake system as far as I know, or a staked miner system. But if they were more of a hash mining system or a combo as well, ANS might have a better, they might have to have hash mining rewards in order to get their chain up and running, or Neo now rebranded, while they're relatively small in terms of their market cap. But once you reach a substantial market cap, then staked mining, moving over to staked mining, can be a fantastic system. And then in terms of the amount of time that it takes to transition over to Casper for Ethereum in particular, which might be a year, it might be a year and a half, it seems like, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years. Well, if you're into a staked mining system or a combination of hash and staked mining system, then the amount of time that it takes to develop Casper economically is not a problem. But as so long as you stay in a 100% hash reward system, or 100% hash mining, 100% hash security, hash reward system, then you constantly have two powers competing against each other. Miners on one side who are liquidating Ethereum daily, and they are encouraged to effectively clog up the network so that their transactions are stabilized over a longer period of time, and that the price of transactions go up. They have no incentive to create network availability, really, and they don't do anything to really strengthen the chain. I mean, they do strengthen the chain, but against a fictional scenario that has not really been seen ever in practice. A lot of people think 2,000 computers, 500 computers is sufficient to kind of strengthen a chain from some form of a imaginary 51% attack. But 10,000 is clearly enough by all metrics that anyone has conceived to date, which costs roughly 100 million. And like I said, Ethereum's paying roughly 3 billion and Bitcoin's paying 1.5 billion roughly. Tezos is going to, I think, do all their computers in-house and pay 100 million. So I support, and I would like all of you to support too, if you made it this far in the video, setting a maximum limit of 8% of empty block space rewards come August 1st, when Ethereum resets their time bomb and delays Metropolis for the next month. So Metropolis is going to be delayed at least one more month, and their time bomb is going to be reset probably one more month. And I support setting the maximum empty block space reward down from 14.75 to 8% on August 1st, or less. 8% or less, I'm totally happy about. And I would also support a system of moving toward devoting half of the reward to the hash power mining, and half of the reward randomly distributed to staked miners, based on IP address, as they would. So that's the way that I would support that. Half of it devoted to hash mining and half of it devoted to staked mining. And I would also like another concept that I think is quite interesting is having the reward being um, the reward that's for hash mining, maybe having that in halved if there is not a stake, and then doubled if a staked miner solves the hash, and then in addition to that, a random reward that's roughly 50% of, so equal to that reward, that's randomly distributed amongst staked miners. So I think that would create an insanely strong chain with shared incentives between the majority of the mining groups and the ones who are seeking for Ethereum to be developed further, and likewise for the price to go up, etc. Um, Everybody wants Ethereum to continue to be developed, but one group is highly incentivized to create lower prices in the long term, whereas another group might like to see it raise some. So we shall see what happens on August 1st and what happens on September 1st and October 1st and many other months in the future. Thanks so much for watching. Uh, and currently, I think 35,000 new Ethereum are issued, might be issued daily, and hopefully we'll take it down to 8,000. We'll see. All right, thanks, bye.